guys, today I'm going to be talking about the cheap leveling kit that I put on my 2015 Ram. And you know me, I like to do things cheap but make sure it's good in quality, and I went ahead and went with the Motofab leveling kit for this truck. And what it is, it's a spacer that goes over the strut, not in the strut, over the strut. And what it does, it lifts the truck up in the air. Now, before we get into talking about this leveling kit, here's what I recommend. Do not go over 2.5, because if you do, your ball joints will be at a wrong angle. And if you're going to be just using your truck like mine on the road and you're not really doing hardcore rock crawling or off-roading, these are for you. But if you're doing something, get a real lift kit, get real shocks, get real struts. But this will work perfect for what I'm doing. And I hate a rake on a truck. The rake is where the front sets down more than the back. So as we look inside here, you can see that my ball joint is not at an extreme angle, or my axle shaft. Everything went in perfect, and the spacer's actually up in here. It bolts on top of your strut. Now, Ram owners know that when it's stock, you can't fit your head under here. Well, I can fit my head under here just fine, no problem. There's a lot of space between the fender well and the wheel now. Why I didn't film a how-to video, because it's self-explanatory. Because all you do is unbolt your top ball joint, your tie rod over there, and then you unclip all this, take your caliper off, then you just go ahead and drop the strut and you take the bottom strut bolt out. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's tons of how-to videos online to show you how to do it, but if you really don't know what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it at all. Now, as you can see on this box, it has these spacers and it has the studs up through it. Well, I watched a guy on YouTube get mad and throw a fit because it came with bolts, and he tried to put the spacer on the strut, put the strut up in, and thread the bolts through the top of the hat. Okay, that didn't make any sense. He was mad, so he had to go buy all thread. But if you flip the spacer on its top, like, see how this is recessed for your top strut bolts? Okay, if you flip this spacer over, you thread the bolts through this way, because on the other side, this side is recessed, so you can thread the bolts up through. So the bolts that come with it do work. They work as studs. You just got to know what you're doing. The bolts never go down through. They always have, your spacers always have studs on them, and like I said, you might have to thread them up through. You never put the bolts on your truck down through, because it'll pull through. You never do that. A lot of people complain that the spacer breaks when it's on the truck. It's because you over torque it. Only torque it to 25 foot-pounds, because that is aluminum. If you He-Man torque it like you're putting a wheel on, it will crack the spacer. And a lot of people don't like spacer lifts, but I'm not going to be out there jumping on the dunes or anything. This one seems to be well built. It almost looks like a wheel spacer, and you just stick it on top of your strut. Now, another thing with putting on spacers on a vehicle like this. Now, I had to flip my strut, because what happens is they make the spacer to go down on, but the design of the spacer has two bolts back here and one in the front. So it's like a triangle, and what it does when you put the spacer on, it puts the one bolt on the other side. So what I had to do is flip the strut and then stick it up in there, because it wouldn't go back in because the bolt pattern was wrong. It doesn't hurt anything to put your strut the other way. I didn't have a problem with it. A lot of people was like, oh, blah, blah, but it doesn't really matter. I looked, and there isn't like a correct way it's supposed to go. It's not angled, it's just straight with a shock and a spring on it. But if you can't turn your shock around and the bottom don't line up, you have to get a spring compressor and then turn the hat. But I've not really had a problem with that. Basically, these go on pretty easy. You can get this done in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. My truck was pretty new. It's a 2015, but somebody really took care of it, so every bolt came out perfect, and I put it all together with anti-seize again, so in the future I can take bolts out easily. But that's basically it. Easy job. I recommend, you don't have to go, if you're going to buy a spacer lift, they're all the same. If you're going to buy one for 100 bucks, it looks identical to this and just has a different name, just go for the cheap one like I did. Came here pretty quick. They have all kinds of lift kits for stuff. They have leveling kits, I don't have a problem with it. I only paid 38 bucks for mine. I know people's like, oh, you need to buy blah, blah, blah. In the future, maybe. I'm not really wanting to go too high with this truck. I just want the level look, and it actually lifted it up pretty good, which I like. But I hope you guys enjoyed this little review. I hope I didn't miss anything. So definitely go out and try it out. I've been testing it, been running the truck. It rides like stock. I do recommend getting a alignment after this because the top wheels will set out a little bit, and like you've seen, my ball joints aren't at an extreme angle, so I'm not really worried about that. Make sure your ball joints aren't on an extreme angle, because if they are, you're going to have to buy aftermarket ball joints. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm Cherokee Ronnie, and stay dirty, my friends.